Hey pals, how are you doing? I just had a bit of a thought upstairs about my whole Patreon and YouTube kind of situation. Last week I didn't post a video because I was feeling really overwhelmed and stressed about uni and placement. So I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to do, and I know that one of my perks on Patreon is to give you extra content in the form of videos. But whenever I get around to thinking about that kind of thing, I get really panicky and stressed that it's not going to be good enough, or that I'm not going to be able to keep up with it, or that I'm just going to feel a bit like it's not worth it for what you want out of me, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm putting too much pressure on myself or if I'm overthinking things, which is probably true because I do that a lot. But I wanted to maybe do something that was a bit more possible for me and not put so much pressure on myself to either come out with a new extra video every month or week when I'm struggling to post every month or week at the moment, if that makes sense. So I was thinking maybe I could just sit down once in a while and do a one-take video where I talk about something that is on my mind. So today I thought I would talk about mental health and the process I'm going through to kind of get a psychologist or a diagnosis about that, what's going on in my head and stuff. So yeah, oh, I've got an itchy nose. Basically, where do I start? I don't know how much you know or how much I should share, but I have been struggling with mental health for about 12 to 13 years. It kind of started when I was around 10. My sister passed away from cancer, and from that I kind of dealt with that trauma in different ways, kind of put myself in vulnerable positions, was taken advantage of a few times, blah blah blah. Lots of stuff happened and I've ended up with symptoms of depression, anxiety, PTSD and some other things, but I'm not entirely sure whether or not that's just part of depression or if it's something else, if that makes sense. So over the past few years I've been trying to get a diagnosis for a mental health condition or counselling that lasts more than 6 weeks, which isn't the easiest thing to get when it's the NHS, which is great in the UK, but they are struggling a lot with funding, so things are limited at the moment unless you go privately, which I don't have the funds to do. Yeah, so I've been passed around from counsellor to counsellor, school teachers, just looking for someone I can talk to, and in the last maybe 4 or 5 years I specifically have been asking to speak to someone that I can get a diagnosis from. I've got a diagnosis for PTSD and depression and anxiety, but it's very generalized and it's just so I can get medication for it. But I kind of want to speak to someone about what's going on more in depth, so I can learn how to manage it and so other people take it a bit more seriously, because I feel like when you tell someone you've got depression or anxiety, they're kind of just like, oh, sometimes he gets sad or sometimes he worries about things, when it's a much more complex thing than that. So anyways, I spoke to my doctor at the beginning of the year, can't remember when it was. I made a video about it in my news resolutions, I think, and I asked if I could be referred to a psychologist, and initially he was a bit worried because usually with trans people they think the issue is about your gender all the time, and so whenever you get referred to a psychologist they say, oh, it's a trans person, send them to the gender clinic because that'll fix his problem, sort of thing. But this time I was like, I really want you to try, because it's not about my gender, it's about a lot more, and I just need that help. So I finally got my appointment last Friday. What day was it? like the 16th or the 15th, it was the 15th I think, I got an appointment to see a psychologist, I can't remember her name. I think it was like a community psychiatric nurse. I don't really know the difference between psychologist and psychiatrist and psychotherapist. It's all kind of just brain stuff to me. So I went there, and the initial assessment was like, tell us about your life and how that is. And I kind of just started talking, and it was really heavy stuff. It was like, there was a part where it was like person's history, so I had to name off everything that happened, every trauma I've been through. I probably listed about 10 different traumas, and they were like, have you ever gotten support for trauma therapy? And I was like, no. And they were like, why? Why haven't you had help before? And I was like, honestly, I didn't even know it existed. I didn't know that there was a specific therapy for trauma, and I've asked for help, and people have kind of just been like, speak to someone about how your week's been for 6 weeks and see how that helps. And it never really did. So she was like, well, you definitely need help, which was kind of reassuring to hear, because it wasn't like I was talking to someone about something that didn't really matter. And I had a physical health check, and she said she'd get back to me within the next few days. So I'm expecting a call at any kind of day now to kind of decide where I'm going to go next and what I'm going to do and what I can expect from the service. But I'm hoping that I get support and things change, because currently I feel okay at times, and then at other times I feel like a robot. I feel like I have no emotion to anything at all, apart from Theo, maybe he's the exception, where I sort of feel a bit of love towards him. People that I'm close to, I just feel like I feel hollow. I feel like I'm just a shell navigating my way through life, and people are just objects around me, and it's really horrible to feel like that, because I like to consider myself as someone who is sensitive and soft and caring. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to talk about my journey to getting extra help, and I was gonna make a more in-depth video about it on my YouTube channel, but I feel like the thought of that is quite daunting, and my position as a youth worker, it's quite a vulnerable thing to do when anybody has access to it. I know potentially anyone can become a patron, but I feel like it's a little bit of a smaller community, and I'm not talking to the world sort of thing. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of offload my thoughts into the world and maybe talk about mental health a bit more, because I think it's important too. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about. I feel like I'm trying really hard not to make mistakes and like chop and change between things like I do usually, because I know I can edit it out and stuff, but I don't want to put more pressure on myself. I don't want to like put this onto my computer and then spend 4 hours editing it. I just want it to be a thing that is in the world, and yeah. So okay. I want you to let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. I can't speak. Yeah, if there's any questions you have for me, or anything you'd like to hear about on a more kind of private-ish level, then do let me know. There's only a few of you, which is nice, because it's not very overwhelming, and I feel like I get to know you a bit more. I know we've got Discord, and I'm not on there very often just because I find it quite overwhelming at times, but I'm trying my best to kind of give you something back for the support you give me, because I do appreciate it. So yeah, we'll see what happens, whether or not this becomes a monthly thing or a weekly thing or a bi-weekly thing, I don't know, but I'll just do my best with letting you know, listening to you am doing what I feel I can do. So yeah, cool. I will speak to you soon, I guess. Hope you're doing well. I feel like I should say I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having a great day and a great week and a great month and a great everything. But that feels like it's for YouTube, and I feel like this should be a bit different and a bit more personal. So I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will see you soon. Bye.